Welcome along to episode 22. I'm Cam. I'm the host of the Lifting in Life podcast. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm a personal trainer and I also work in IT. Today, I'm joined by Kimi Schreiber, who is a professional trail runner from Germany. Right now, Kimi is going through a tough time with her racing, which, after having to pull out from her most recent race, left her questioning her identity as a trail runner. So you'll find this episode especially useful if you're going through a time where your expectations have not met the outcome, whether that's, in a physical pursuit or even at work or with your business. We also delve into the more specifics of trail running, how it's different from road running, and I also ask Kimi about her nutrition, both when she's racing and also outside of racing. And then lastly, because selfishly, I wanted to, I'm getting into running right now, so I wanted to pick her brain on what is the best equipment to buy, running shoes, clothing, hat, whatever, watch. So I personally enjoyed that because I'm getting into it right now too. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode, and if you want to show support, feel free to like, comment, subscribe on the platform that you're listening to this on. Yeah, you're like, that's not even my name at all. Right, we're live anyway. Kimi Schreiber, thanks so much for joining me all the way from France you're in right now.
Yeah, right. Thanks for having me. And yeah, you're right. I'm sitting in Chamonix right now, in France. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
No, there's probably worse places in the world you could be right
Absolutely.
now.
But I have to say, the weather at the moment is it's rainy and gray outside. So, but still, the mountains are right in front of my doorstep. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've only seen it on YouTube and stuff, like the Golden Trail series and stuff.
Of course.
I've never been, but it looks like a nice place. Anyway, in terms of what I'm keen to chat to you about today, I understand that right now you're going through what you'd probably describe as quite a difficult time with your recent races and, having to overcome the DNF and things like that. So I was keen to sort of understand a little bit more about what you're going through right now, and then later in the episode we could jump into what got you into trail running and maybe some more ins and outs for beginners and some advice. So if you're keen, we could just start off with what your current situation kind of looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you said already, I would describe my situation like so and so. I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm able to run. I'm not injured or something. It's just more that I'm kind of mentally blocked since a while now, because actually I moved here in May from Germany, from Munich, where I was living before and where I am from. So it was kind of a big step for me. And of course, it was a decision I made because of the sport and because of the running, because actually in Munich it's nice, but it's not perfect for trail running. So yeah, and I arrived here and it was super emotional because it was such a big change. And then I did not really have the time to arrive here properly because after 2 weeks I had to fly. I flew over to South Africa for a pretty important race, which went well. And I came back, and then 1 week later I flew over to Germany to race there as well. And it was so much traveling and not really being here. And I felt tired since May, actually. Since I'm here, I felt I don't know, I just did not really feel good anymore. I did not really have any energy left. I did not really have the motivation to train properly. And I'm here in Chamonix, so there are so many amazing trails, and I just didn't really I did not feel the need of running, which is not great when you're a trail runner. So yeah, I raced in Germany 2 weeks ago, and I the race was okay-ish. I mean, it was not that bad. It was still fifth position in a quite strong field. But man, I put such a huge pressure on myself, what I always do. Like, I always expect so much from me. So I was in a finish line, and I was I was just feeling horrible, and my stomach was kind of blocked, and my breathing did not work that well. So yeah, I flew back to France, and then I was here for 1 week, and then there was the Marathon du Mont Blanc on Sunday. Actually, a pretty important race for me. One of the most important ones, maybe, because not because of the podium or anything, because actually this is one of the craziest races, one of the Golden Trail Series races. So I knew that there will be so many strong women. It was more like being there as one of the elite women was such a cool feeling. But from the first moment on, like from the start on, I felt kind of, again, like the pressure which I put on myself was so huge. And like after 1 hour in the race, I felt like, okay, this will be a DNF maybe. And then like 1 hour later, I was still in the race, because I really tried to race strong, and I feel like mentally I felt fine. It was more like my stomach was blocked and my breathing did not work. So actually you can't run downhill or uphill or whatever if your body doesn't work. Yeah, so I think I pushed, so like I wanted to race good. So the pressure I put on myself was insanely high. So my body was like kind of, okay, fuck you, man. Like, so yeah, after 30K I stopped, and that was like, it was the right decision, but still a DNF for an athlete is one of the hardest calls to make. So yeah, I came home and I was like, I had to cry several times, and I felt super weak. I felt like, okay, maybe my time as a professional athlete is coming to an end. I was super dramatic at this moment, but I was like, maybe I'm not one of the strongest anymore, and then maybe it's time to let it go. And then I talked to many people, and now I'm in a definitely in a better position, like some days later, but still the self-doubt is quite high. And I think what is necessary for me now before I race again is to overcome this self-doubt time by just not racing and just being here, arriving here properly, and just take my time. And that's what I'm doing now, actually.
I read your most recent blog post that you shared on your story the other day about pressure. And I found that really, really interesting. And I wanted to ask you, what does self-inflicted pressure mean to you? Because that was a term that you used in there, which I found, quite thought-provoking. So in terms of what you're going through right now, you mentioned that a lot of the pressure was put on by yourself. Obviously, there's that external pressure as well, but what does that self-inflicted pressure mean to you?
Well, I mean, of course, as I am a professional runner, there are sponsors and stuff like that. So it's not fair to say it's only me who is expecting anything from myself. But I am definitely the one who is expecting the most. Like, I always want to be perfect in a way. I want to train perfect every day. I want to work every day. I want to be the best version of myself every day, which is not possible. I am a super structured and strict person, and sometimes if I don't reach what I wanted to reach, I only search for the mistakes or the problems on my side. And I did not really see that the fact that I moved and so many things changed in my life, which takes energy, is a reason maybe to calm down a bit. I was just on 100% every day, and I was and it worked for quite a long time actually. But at one point I was just, it didn't work anymore. So yeah, I think my head was just constantly thinking, man, if you don't like work anymore in terms of training and working and stuff like that, you're not the same Kimi everyone expects you to be. So just keep going, keep going. And so here we are now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a paradox, because if you didn't have that kind of mindset, you wouldn't achieve the things that you're able to achieve and have achieved. You know,
Yeah.
if you had a mindset where you just do 70% of what you need to do, you're never going to be the top of your sport. So it kind of reminds me of a bit of an identity thing, right? So much of your identity is built up as being a trail runner. So like you say, when you don't get a result that you wanted, did you find that it was making you question your identity to a certain point? You mentioned how, oh, I don't know if I'm a good trail runner anymore. I'm not sure if I'm, cut out for this. Was it sort of an identity thing that you were questioning?
That's a good question. Actually, I think yes. I think, of course, on the one hand, like being this disciplined, I don't know how to say it,
No, that's right. Disciplined. Yeah.
person who is well organized and structured is kind of necessary when you want to be like a professional athlete. But on the other side, like there's such a, like it's important to like calm down sometimes. So I, like what I was thinking on Sunday was actually, well, the running is one of my, like, who am I? Who is Kimi? And would I only like describe myself as a runner or a trail runner? And like the response is no, actually. I'm more than that. But on Sunday it was like, okay, I failed. And maybe if I'm not like able to show up as a good runner anymore, then maybe I should cancel the runner for a while and search something else in life. So that was actually my point of view on Sunday. And it was, as I said already, it was super dramatic and it was like, it was way over the top. But I really questioned my identity in that moment, because actually last year I had such a great season and I had like kind of only successful races. So I was Kimi the runner. And my whole, like the story I am creating at the moment around my life is actually based on the running, kind of, not only, but a big part of it. So yeah, that's definitely part of it. Like questioning myself, who am I, is actually something I'm doing a lot over the last days.
My
Yeah.
partner, she's a professional like IFBB bikini pro, and this is an analogy I've talked about before, but she went to a sports psychologist before she competed in the States once. And the sports psychologist said with professional athletes or athletes competing at a high level, she used the analogy of a pie. And she said that a lot of that pie, when you're an athlete, is like representing your identity. A lot of that pie is taken up as the athlete version of yourself.
Yeah.
And then when that athlete version of you is challenged, or maybe you don't meet the expectations, that's when you can all of a sudden, kind of like how you're describing right now, question what are the other things that I am other than just the thing that I do or just the sport that I do.
Yeah, I think that's also something really important to do. Like, actually, I'm super happy that I'm not only a trail runner, so like I'm also a journalist, and I love to write, and I love to like I love the fact that I have that second job. Let's
Yeah.
call it like that. So actually, that's a good thing. But still, it's like, um, yeah, if you don't reach your goals in one thing, you currently get to the point where you like kind of lose the motivation to like perform. If you like, that's actually what happened to me. Like I don't feel the need of, or I didn't feel the need of keep on train with the, like continue with the training if the races are not going well. So that's actually why I'm now like, I take myself out of racing for a bit to find the passion about it again. So actually, because I love to race, but at the moment, not really. So that's where, like, yeah, I just hope that I find the passion and the feeling of being happy while racing again.
Yeah, that's really good insight actually, because what I wanted to ask you is if there are people listening right now who are going through a similar thing, maybe they've been doing something for a while and then they haven't, managed to achieve the things that they wanted to achieve recently, what would be some ways for them of dealing with that, and one of those that you just described is giving it a rest for a second and channeling your energy into something else. Is there any other specific things that you're doing right now to sort of work through the current challenges?
Uh, to be honest, I'm still searching for this myself. So, what I am trying to do now is to focus on the, let's call it, bright side of life. So,
Yeah.
like, I love to sit on my balcony. I love to, like, with a coffee and with a book or with my laptop writing articles. And well, I'm still training. Like, I did not really take a rest of training. I'm still training and I will continue with the training. But it's like, what I am trying to do now is to, like, take out the pressure and just train for myself, not for a race which is coming up, or not for, like, anyone else. I just try to race for myself and or to train for myself. And I think that is maybe something which I lost for quite a while, because every time when I was racing, in Germany, for example, 2 weeks ago, it was horrible. Actually, it felt like no second felt good. It was just, okay, I have to show that I am one of the favorites. I have to show that I am worth it, that the people are here now cheering for me. I have to, I have to, I have to. I must be the perfect Kimi delivering a great result. So that's what happened actually. And when I was in the finish, nobody really cared about the fact that I was maybe 10 minutes slower than the women who won. It was just like, man, Kimi, you just raced and it was amazing and you still did great. So, and we are just happy to have you here. But I was like constantly in like, nah, I'm not happy. I did, like, my race was shit and I did not show the, like, I did not perform how I wanted to. So everything was just nah. So,
Yeah. It's like
and
your
that's
expectations of yourself were so much higher
exactly.
than what other people were expecting of you.
Exactly. And that's maybe something I'm trying to work on now. Actually, it's fine to, like, be, like, slowlier sometimes than others. And in the end, the race is only with yourself. And that's what I'm, like, trying to get in my head now. Like, it's okay to not be perfect every time. That's why I chose the song It's Okay on my latest
Yeah,
post. Like,
yeah,
it's okay. Like, who cares if there's one or two or even three races not going that well? Like, I still, like, I love what I do and I have to, like, find this love again. So that's what I'm trying to do. But, like, to answer your question, I'm still searching for the right way to do that, or to, yeah, like, achieve this. It's not that
and
easy.
it feels like something like that is obviously a journey, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to talk to one person and then the thing's going to be solved overnight. It's something that you're going to have to almost deconstruct and understand where that amount of self-inflicted pressure, like you say, sort of stems from, and then also understand why your body didn't want to, you know, compete on that day. To me, like, just from the picture that you painted, it seems like such a holistic thing. An analogy that I really like is that you can only spin so many plates at once. You know those,
Mm.
I don't know if you'd call them a clown or whatever, but they spin plates on sticks. And if you try and spin 10 plates at once, you're not going to get any to spin. But if you're spinning one and then you slowly introduce another, gradually you can spin more, but you can only spin one really well at a time. And
Mm.
you moving countries and then also like flying all the way to South Africa and also trying to race at the same time. It seems like there was so many plates spinning that your body just kind of needed a break or just kind of gave up on you a little bit.
And that's like also something I was talking about like 2 weeks ago, because actually there were so many things going on over the last month. Like, for example, the World Champs in Austria in June. No, in June. And like 2 weeks ago, actually, or 3 weeks ago. And I was invited, like, first of all, I was nominated for the German team. And I said no to that because I wanted to race South Africa to qualify for UTMB in August, which felt not great, but it felt okay to me to say no to that. But then I was invited to like be one of the person who is moderating, can I say, yeah, the whole event. That was such a cool thing, and I was like, I felt so honored. But as like again, I said no because this would have meant like 5 days of working constantly. And I wanted to train, I wanted to rest, I wanted to be in Munich with my family and my boyfriend. So I again said no. And like there were so many possibilities, and there are still so many, also like racing wise, like the Golden Trail Series, UTMB, World Champs, whatever. And there's always the need to like make a decision and say no to things because you want to experience other things. So what happened to me was like that constant feeling of FOMO.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not there and I'm not there. I'm here now, but I can't really enjoy the present because I always want to be everywhere, which is not possible. So actually, exactly that happened. I was trying to fill in as much as possible. And in the end, I did not enjoy anything anymore. So yeah.
I'd describe that as being between a rock and a hard place. It's like you got this thing, but you don't want to go, but then you also want to go at the same
Exactly.
time. So constantly, it's like having your foot on the brake and on the accelerator at the same time.
Exactly.
And that, like, even though you're still in the same place, I'm sure that would be, very taxing on your energy.
Yeah, I think it was like, as I said already, like over the last months, I just wanted too much, and I took not even one day like for rest or anything. So I just learned it. Maybe it was necessary that this DNF happened. I think it was necessary so that I felt how it feels to like just be tired and like, yeah, just not be motivated anymore to do the things which I really loved some month ago. So it kind of felt like I wouldn't say I'm in a burnout, or I was in a burnout. That's maybe a little bit too much, but it felt like sometimes I was just burning out in the sense of I was just tired of keep going, and that's not normal for me. Yeah.
And perhaps you caught yourself at the right time before you fully burnt out. Who knows, maybe in a month or something you might feel refreshed and ready to go again. But I think it's definitely the best idea to give yourself the time now. And I think it's probably quite refreshing for people to hear even a professional athlete of your caliber, it's still a journey. Just because you're a professional athlete doesn't mean you have all the answers when you're going through these kind of things. It's still a journey, even for someone like you too.
Absolutely. Like I received so many messages after my latest post, which was amazing. Like so many people told me that they actually experienced the same thing, or they experienced the same thing, which should maybe be something we should all think about, because actually so many people are feeling like tired of something they are doing. But like, yeah, I just felt so happy about it. And I was like, so many people also told me, hey, you're like 28. Of course, like there's so much more to come and so much more to learn. And like even or maybe like a DNF is so much more than a DNF. It's also a process and a learning. So see it as a learning and take everything out of it, and then you'll come back stronger. I don't really like this, like come back stronger, but I mean, it's true in a way. Like I want to like, yeah, take this whole experience as a learning, because I need, like, there's so much more to learn for me. So yeah, I definitely don't know everything. Even as a professional runner, like you never know everything, so there's always a learning, and that's how I take it now. Yeah.
Now, zooming out a little bit and maybe going back in time to when you first started trail running, what did that look like and what first sort of pulled you into this sport? Because it's a pretty crazy sport. Like running in the mountains for 40 kilometers and trying to do it as fast as you can, it's not an easy thing to do. So, what is it that first got you into the sport of trail running?
Well, actually, it was one good friend of mine. We were in the same running club in the city I was studying, and he was like kind of like he was running for Adidas Terex back then, and he told me, Kimmy, I think you actually would love to you would love trail running. And I was like, what the hell is trail running? Because actually I did it quite for a while already, but I did not know that I have to make a difference between running on roads and running on trails. I was just running on roads and running on trails, and for me that was
Running is
running.
running. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was kind of like, okay, I'll just come with you and we'll see how it goes. So what he did was registering. I don't know how to say it for a race.
Yeah, that's right.
It was um, like a 21K race with 1,000 meters of elevation, and we got there, and we raced it, and actually I finished third overall.
In your first
And
one.
yeah, it
Whoa.
was quite cool, but it was also
Yeah.
I have to be it was a familiar, pretty small race, so there was not that huge and strong field, but still it felt cool, and I felt like, okay, this is something I really, really much love. So what I did actually was I continued with the same training as before. Like I was running on the track, I was running on the roads, I was running in the forest, and I started to race on trails. And 5 years later, here we are now in Chamonix. So yeah, that was my first trail running experience actually.
Well, that's epic. And you make the story sound quite linear. Like, I didn't do trail running, then I did trail running, and then now here I
And
am.
then
But
I
I'm sure,
started
yeah,
the
but
big career.
in that time, I'm sure there's a lot of ups and downs. But for people who are, maybe they don't even run right now, or maybe they're just wanting to get into running, or they only do road running, what would your advice be in order be for starting trail running specifically? Because like you said when you first started, road running and trail running, it's the same thing. But now that you have your 5 or 6 years of experience, what would your advice be for people who are wanting to start running on trails?
Well, actually, I think the most important thing is to mention that I ran for quite a long time before I even started trail running. So what I did was building a base of running. I was already quite fit in running on flat parts and also on hilly stuff. And I think that's something many people don't really think about when they start with trail running. They think they will be they will have a great time in the nature and enjoy every
When they're dying going uphill.
it's I'm just that's actually what I don't like. There are so many people trying to tell on Instagram or whatever the social media parts oh, it's trail running is so beautiful and it's running up and down in the nature, and actually that's not true. Of course it is, also it's beautiful,
Yeah.
but man, it's such a hard sport and it's brutal. And if you don't build your base, actually try to run and get the feeling of that running is something you really, really much like and enjoy. And if you feel fit in running, then you can start running on trails and try to start on running on hills or even mountains. But just take it easy. You don't have to be Kilian Jornet in the first trail running event. Actually, it's like what so many people do in the beginning. Also, some friends of mine, they think they like to hike, so they are good trail runners. And actually, that's a good start. Maybe if you feel like if you like mountains, that's actually something which would help. But still, trail running and hiking, or running and trail running, is definitely not the same. So like take it easy in the beginning, and yeah, also don't be frustrated if it doesn't feel great in the beginning. It's hard work. So
And would you
yeah.
say for someone who maybe has a base level of fitness, you know, they've been road running for a little while, is that how transferable to the trails would you say that is? Because I feel like running up and down hills is obviously it's your cardiovascular system, but so much of it would be about your muscles, right? And how strong you can pull yourself up the hill and stop yourself from falling over when you're running down the hill. So how transferable would the road running be to the trails?
Oh, I think actually that's something so individual. Um like on the like there will be many people who love to run on the roads, but they don't feel the need to run on trails, and then that's totally fine. I think um that's so hard to like to answer that. I think if you like running, you should definitely give it a try. But if you don't feel like, for many people, also in my like for my friends, they for them it's totally fine to stay like to run on the road, or to run in the like on the streets, or maybe like on a gravel road or something like that, but they don't need like the adventure of running on trails, and then that's perfectly fine. And I think the point in like what you also mentioned with the strength, it's something which so many people forget. Like you have to train your whole body, not only like, yeah, that's why I said trail running and running is such a difference. There's like, yeah, you have to be physically strong to like be like to be able to run on trails. And so I think if the mental thing, like if you like to do it, there's, yeah, then you like, I think oh, it's so like I'm getting lost now
No, no, that's all
in
right.
my motivation speak.
Yeah.
No, actually what I'm trying to say is, if you like, give it a try. If you don't like it, it's totally fine. If you like it, running on trails, then there are like huge differences in trails. Like there's technical trails, there's gravel roads, there's like hilly roads, there's like crazy alpinism,
Alpine, yeah.
alpine stuff. So there are so many different things to do and to explore. And if you like, I think everyone who wants to be close to nature, it's perfect to start trail running, but it's also okay to not be a trail runner. That's what I think, what is possible, like what is necessary to say. But if you want to do it, there's always a way to do it, even if you're not the strongest or fastest person.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it from the perspective of someone who, you know, wants to get into it. So it's a good point to say that it's very different to road running and not everyone has to run the trails. I think
Yeah.
that's quite an important part. But, if, you know, if someone was really wanting to get into the trail running, would you say that their training would have to be quite a lot different to what a road runner would have to do? Like maybe things like strength training or like weight training. Would you say that that is more important in trail running than it is in road running?
Actually, no, because if you take me, for example, I was like, for the last years, I actually did not really live in mountains. Now I'm in Germany, but before that, I was living in Munich, which is a city. So, and I trained like 99% in the flat and on the road. Um, and that's why I moved now, because what I'm experiencing now is that the people run away on the technical parts and on the steep parts. So I have to improve on them. But for me, for the last 4 years being a professional athlete, it worked pretty well. So what I definitely had to put more energy in was like the strength training, which I'm super bad still. Like, it's definitely not my favorite part. It's like the mobility and the strength training. It's,
Just rather
I'm
be
so
running.
lazy. I would prefer running 10 hours around a mountain than do 5 minutes of stretching.
That's hilarious.
But I think it's totally fine if you're living in a city or somewhere flat. You can definitely also train for being a trail runner, I think. But of course, it's better to be around places where you can just jump on the trails and train in the terrain, which is necessary to like improve, for example, on the technical parts or stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, going back to your first race, you came third, which is pretty crazy for your first race. How did your strategy from that first race change over time? Like, did you, going into that first race, did you have any strategy at all, or did you just kind of like put your shoes on and go for a run?
Well, my strategy was to sprint out of the start area, and like
Nice.
after 1K, I was like kind of dead, um, because actually even back then, I was like my expectation of myself were insanely high even back then. So I thought, okay, I'm here now. I have to show myself at least that I'm able to race this race. So I started way too fast, and I had to like I just took it very very easy on the uphill, which was a pretty steep climb, and then in the downhill, because as we talked about it already, I had back then already like kind of like my downhill running was quite good because I had the strength to run down pretty fast. And it was honestly not a technical thing. It was just a gravel road downhill, which is the perfect thing for me. It's my favorite downhill. Just let it go. So that was actually my first race experience. And then it took quite a while, and it still definitely is not perfect now. Like what I did on Sunday actually was like running way too fast in the first 13K. Like it was so fast in the beginning, and I just tried to stay with the fast ladies. So I'm still learning on this one, but it definitely improved in terms of I try to listen more, like I'm focusing more on myself. I try to not think about the others. I try to focus on my training, on my running, on my strength, on my speed. And if this works out, then I have a good race. Yeah.
It's almost like an analogy for life, almost just comparing yourself to you rather than yourself to others. But in a sport where it's running and it's very objective, whether where you're placed in a race, how do you manage that dynamic between making sure you're just running the race for you, but also running to be competitive at the same time?
Oof, so hard questions, hey.
You can take your time.
I'm still like I'm getting there still. Like on Sunday, I kind of like I knew that there are so many women who are stronger than me. So I did not really try to compare myself to them. But what I definitely did was comparing myself to the ladies who were kind of the same level than me. And that was a big mistake because I totally forgot about my strength. Like I just tried to search for their weaknesses maybe and not focused on myself. So of course you always have to think about the others in terms of like who, like when you want to be maybe in first position or maybe try to attack someone, you of course you have to think about their performance as well. But I really like I'm trying to get to the point where I really be in the start of a race thinking, okay, they look insanely strong and I know them and I know that they are strong, but I am too. And I'm doing my race, and if it's enough to take the win in the end, it's totally fine. And if not, it's also totally fine because I gave my best. And if that's not enough for the moment, then that's okay. but I'm like talking about it is always so easy, but behaving like
The
this
theory
is
versus the practice.
yeah, exactly. But
It
yeah,
sounds like an important part of that is having a clear plan before you go into the race, because it's obvious that before you do the race, you would know how much you're going to climb, how much you're going to descend, all that kind of stuff. So before you race, do you have a sort of a set plan each time for how you're going to attack it?
no, I'm exactly the opposite actually,
Really?
because like what I never do is looking on the like start list, because I don't want to know who's there. I will see it in the on the race day, so there's no need for me to already compare myself to others days before the race. And also like nutrition wise, oh, I'm so bad in like preparing actually my like on like for Marathon Mont Blanc, I was sitting together with a teammate of mine on Saturday, and she was better prepared for my race than I was. She was like, okay, there is an aid station, and there's an aid station, and there's an aid station. Here you have to run 10K, here you have to run 13K, and here you have to run 20K. And I was like, well, yes, I don't know. And she was like, Kimi, like you are so bad prepared. I was like, well, I know, I'm always like that.
Yeah.
That's actually something I have to learn, because what I'm learning from my teammates, and that's definitely something people should do as well, is like take your time to have a look on the course. Like, not if you can't run there before, it's fine, but just take a look on the GPS profile or whatever. See where the aid stations are. Like, think about the nutrition, how much do you need per hour, stuff like that. So then it will be a great race if you think about that. But if you do it like the same as me, sometimes it can be actually a nightmare, to be honest. Like like in South Africa in May, I was prepared perfectly because again, two teammates of mine just helped me, and we sit together calculating what I need in carbohydrates for every hour, and also electrolytes and stuff. And it worked out so pretty well. I was like, I just focused on the plan and it worked. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, it will be fine. And I go to the start line and actually it isn't fine. So I think preparation is key. Yeah, definitely.
You're touching on a topic I actually wanted to talk to you about, and that was sort of the specific ins and outs of your nutrition. And I find it so interesting that a lot of your races, it sounds like you kind of just wing it and you sort of just hope for the best. Is that a strategy that you've done most of the time when you don't have teammates there? You must sort of have some stuff to eat though, or have like something to eat at the aid stations. You know, what is your rough kind of food strategy when it comes to racing?
Well, I definitely like I'm taking spring energy gels and scratch labs for quite a while now, for 1 year now. Before that, I had Morton, which did not work for me at all. So I'm definitely like, of course, I do bring nutrition for the races. I'm not that unprofessional, but maybe it's more about the fact that I never really calculate how much I need per hour. So I'm more like, I'm listening to my gut, and I take when I like I take a gel when I think it's time to take a gel, which is just not the right thing to do, because then it's probably too late. Because if you feel that you're like kind of hungry, it's too late.
Yep, you should have eaten an hour ago.
Exactly. So that's what happened to me last year in South Africa too. I was like running through an aid station without refilling my flasks, and it was such a hot day. It was such a hard race, and like I ran out of water for like 10K. And actually then I was kind of dehydrated, and what happened, of course, was like I was lying on the floor with cramps. And man, that was such a big learning, really. Like I don't want to experience something like this again, because actually I was first and I ended up being second, which was just possible because I took a salt tablet. So the nutrition for me became one of the things I have to think about really, really much before a race now. I will not go into a race again thinking no, it will be fine. I'm always like kind of know what I will do more or less to what I have to do to be kind of prepared for a race, which takes at least like 6 hours or something.
And it's going to be pretty cool to see what you can achieve in your races when you come into it with a more clear nutrition strategy
Yeah.
like that. If you've managed to achieve the stuff you've achieved now by sort of just doing whatever on the day, it'll be so cool to see what you can achieve once you actually like attack it with that structured plan with your nutrition.
But I wouldn't call it like I was not like, as I said already, like I'm a super structured person, so I never really hit a race without thinking. Like I always thought about my nutrition. It was more like the
Like the timing of it?
100%.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
exactly, like the
Yeah.
timing. It was more like I always carry everything with me, and then in the finish line I still have so much of it. Like,
Yeah.
here's like still 4 gels, and one of my teammates was like, well, Kimmy, you should have eaten them. That's why you take them
Yeah.
with you. Like, you're not carrying them around to show them the landscape. You should eat them. Like, and I was always like, yeah, well, next time. So that's definitely something like take your nutrition, and if you need it, like make a time plan, like writing down the times every 30 minutes, whatever, take a gel, take your time on the aid stations, refilling your flasks. And then I think that's key. That's, if this is working out, that's so important actually, because like the training is done and the legs are ready to race. So if the brain is working, the mindset is working, the nutrition is working, and you have a great day with your legs,
Can't be any
and
better,
you have
right?
a great race.
And
Yeah.
what about your nutrition outside of just the racing specifically? Because it's such a big topic that I know people are really interested in from my time as a personal trainer and stuff. I know that nutrition training is obviously a big topic that people are interested in, but I just feel like there's something about nutrition that is like a big unknown kind of area, and there's so many different theories and practices when it comes to what you should eat and your nutrition in general. So what does your kind of nutrition look like just on a day-to-day sort of basis?
That's also a topic which is not perfect yet. Like, I always think that I know what is healthy and what is good for me, because I mean, I eat healthy, I eat vegetables and fruits and stuff, but what happened to me like the last weeks was, and that also caused trouble in my racing. I became way too efficient when it was like in eating. I was like, I did not really take my time anymore. I did not really enjoy it anymore. It was just like a
The job.
exactly, it was part of the job, which is so sad, because actually eating is so, it's one of the most wonderful things. So what I did actually was like, I was getting up, and I prepared my breakfast while I was standing around. I ate my breakfast like while I was standing around. I never sat down. Same for lunch, same for dinner. So actually, I always, like, I actually, while I was eating, I cleaned the kitchen already. So it was always in a hurry. And then at one point, my stomach was like, nah, that's not good. You need the energy, because the food is your energy. That's how you, like, how you be able to train every day, twice the day. So what I'm doing now is like learning to take my time again for eating, because I think I know what is good for me. Like I don't eat, like I'm vegetarian. So I'll eat like cereal in the morning with fruits and stuff. I have like kind of light lunch most of the time, with like, I don't know, bread or rice with vegetables, or salad with avocado and lentils, stuff like that. So I I do eat healthy, but sometimes all I need is just pasta. Like my favorite dish is pasta with pesto and a ton of parmesan.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Ah, that's the
That's the dream.
that's the dream. And yeah, and chocolate and coffee, and I mean as long as my body tells me, like, I have to listen more to my body, actually. If my body is telling me, hey, what I want today is just a slice of bread with avocado and egg, that's totally fine. But if it tells me today I would love to eat a pizza or chocolate or whatever, that's also totally fine. I need to learn again to listen to myself again, and to like not see eating and nutrition only as one part of the job. And I think that happens so much in professional sports, because like what the people see is our body first, and there's still this thinking that the skinnier you are, the better you are. I think that's still part of the game, and that's why it's getting so important that even us, like the professional athletes and everyone else who enjoys sports, not only professionals, everyone actually enjoys food, because that's what you need to enjoy sports.
Yeah,
I
and
would
that
say.
holistic kind of view that you take on it is so important for your relationship with food too. Because if you go too serious down the other end, that's when your relationship with food turns to shit, basically.
Absolutely.
And you don't feel comfortable eating the Parmesan cheese or the chocolate or the pizza. But it sounds to me like you take quite a balanced approach to it, where it sounds like 80 or 90% of the time you're eating sort of healthy, good foods, and then maybe a couple times a week you feel like a croissant or you want a pizza or something like that. And that's when you include that.
I'm in France now, so
Yeah, exactly.
there's croissants and baguette, or I don't know, goat cheese, whatever. So and I really, really much do love eating and do love to enjoy food. I just maybe forgot how, like, that it's okay to take the time for that whole process of eating. It's not just a job. It's actually so much more than that. So
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
a term that people call mindful eating, where
Yeah.
you're eating, you're not on your phone, you're not watching TV, you're just sitting there and you're just enjoying the food that you're eating. And it's so much better for your digestion as well, because you're chewing your food, it's actually ready to be digested, and when it gets to your stomach, you're not, like you said before, walking around and eating at the same time. And if you're doing that and you're eating and you're in this kind of stressed state, it's not good for your digestion at all.
Yeah, and actually it's so logical when I'm talking about it, but actually what I did yesterday was going to see a doctor, because I felt like my stomach is pretty bad. It's always blown, kind of. And then I was telling him how I eat, and he was looking at me like, yeah, well, why are you here actually? All you have to do is like take your time for eating. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true actually. It's so easy. But yeah, I was sitting there like, I think I have a problem. And he was like, yeah, you do, but it's not physically. It's like, take your time, girl. That's all you need.
Can't give you any medication for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, yeah, also a learning, but it was quite embarrassing. It was like I was sitting there and he was looking at me like, yeah, I can't tell you anything. All you have to do is like take your time, enjoy life, enjoy food, and all will be good. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Another thing I would be interested to pick your brain on, when it comes to the specific stuff for running, you know, like the gear that you use, like your shoes, your clothing, your watch, your glasses, your hat, all that kind of stuff. I feel like, at least for me, and probably people who are listening, when they're wanting to get into running, like, because I've just started running again, you know, I'm like researching like the best shoes to buy, like doing all this like products research, when it probably doesn't matter because I'm only running 2K anyway, so it probably doesn't matter. But for people who are getting into running or are interested in the specific products, what's your kind of approach to the products that you get and the ones that you use?
To be honest with you, I feel kind of unprofessional in this whole talk, because I'm always like talking about my behavior like, I'm not prepared at all and stuff like that.
But I feel that's just your story though, right? Like maybe there's this idea that a professional athlete should be this or that, but like you are that, and the approach that you're taking is obviously working. So like that's only your approach. You can only speak from your experience.
So I mean, in my team, there are so many who really like are like so well prepared. But when it comes to like shoes, for example, I take the shoes which feel perfect for me. Like it's all emotional. Like I don't really care if it's heavier than another model, for example, or whatever. I try a shoe, and if it feels good for me, I run in it. And so I sometimes can't even tell you the name of the shoe I'm wearing. It's all like, oh yeah, I'm wearing this shoe because it's good for me and it works for me. And this is how I deal with this whole kit stuff actually most of the time. Like, of course, I'm like with Adidas Terrex as my sponsor, I have a perfect partner for that because I get great racing kit. I get the light stuff for racing. I don't have to think that much about it because I get the stuff kind of. I just have to choose the right things for me out of the right things already, kind of. Yeah, but still, like we had 3 weeks ago, we had the discussion about a new prototype we are now trying. And there was like on the one hand sitting part of like teammates who are like who knew how much the shoe is weighing,
The materials that it's made out
everything.
of. Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, nah, I don't like it because I don't feel connected to the shoe,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
And they were looking at me like, oh, it's Kimi again, talking about like her feelings of being
Yeah.
connected to a shoe. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
if I don't feel it, I don't wear it. But
Yeah.
now, like 3 weeks later, I kind of really much like the shoe because I get used to it, of course. I am always the person who is kind of negative in the beginning and then getting there. But still, like for me, it's really like, do I feel the product? Do I really like it? And then like yeah, that's why I use something. So yeah, that's actually, I don't know if that's any helpful. That's,
No, that's
but
good.
yeah.
I feel like it's almost about listening to your intuition more. Obviously, you've got a very educated intuition now too, though. So it's been crafted
Yeah.
over time. But I could imagine that if you say wore a pair of shoes, for instance, that didn't feel quite right, that could probably throw you off psychologically for
Mm,
your race, even though maybe on paper they're the best shoes. But it's
exactly.
almost like maybe a superstition kind of thing where, oh, these shoes aren't quite right, so I'm going to probably race poorly. And it could actually affect your race.
It was also like for Sunday, for Marathon Mont Blanc, for example. I mean, the new shoes which are coming now, they are amazing. Like they are really, really helpful in uphills and stuff, but I didn't feel stable in the beginning. And I think for running downhills, what you need is like confidence. So I thought like, nah, for now, I use the shoes I'm used to. Maybe in the race later, when I'm used to the new shoe, I will use it. But I always have to feel like confident in a shoe, and that's not because it's lighter or fancy or whatever. It's because I wear it and I like it. So that's always my go-to. That's also when people ask me about shoes, I'm always like, well, of course, use Adidas Terrex. But then it's like, it's so hard to tell because feet are so individual and so different. So take your time, go to a shop and try many different shoes. I can tell you which shoes I am using, but that's me. Don't like, I can only tell you what works for me, but it's your foot, it's your running, it's your distance, whatever. So take your time, try them on, and then feel like if you feel good in them, take them. That's always my advice. So I always say, if you feel good, take them. That's my
I
response.
like that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. And in terms of measuring progress, maybe this is definitely more for a beginner because I can imagine you'd have a good idea of, your pace and all that kind of stuff. But for a beginner who is going to hopefully progress, throughout the next 3 months or 6 months, what kind of tools would you recommend to measure progress? Like, would you recommend something like a smartwatch, or how would you how would you measure the progress?
I think like the first thing which came in my mind was the watch. that helped me a lot when I started running properly. Like, I was training with a group and I did not have a watch, and my coach back then was like, I mean, it works because we are in a group and I can tell you like kind of how fast you should run, but definitely it helped me to buy a watch just to see my improvement also, and just to see how fast I am running. So that would be an advice I would give to beginners, or even not only beginners, like to people who want to get faster or want to see a progress. Like, buy a watch. It doesn't have to be the craziest model which can do everything. Actually, it's just cool to see the pace actually and the distance. And I think a coach could be useful as well, and like to have somebody who is making the work and kind of for you. That's so amazing. Like, that's what I love so much about my coach, that he is doing the brain work. Like, he puts in the sessions, the pace, everything. All I have to do is like to do it, but I don't really think about the numbers and everything. It's more like, okay, that's my work, I get it done. And that helped a lot to like get the hard sessions done. And the hard sessions are the one who help you to get faster, like the ones who hurt. And you will definitely not like push yourself out of the comfort zone that easily, like when you don't have someone who is like watching you, kind of.
Yeah,
So that's something I
absolutely.
would definitely do. Yeah.
At what point in your journey did you decide to get a coach?
Well, actually, I started to run with this running club back when I was like when I studied, and in the first time, there like we had a coach for the whole group, and then when he like after a while he saw that I am maybe a promising one, so he started to coach me individually, and then we started to like work together for I think 3 years, and then I changed my coach last year because my coach right now is more focused on trail running, and the coach before that was more, he's a triathlete, so he was more focused on road running and increasing the speed, which was I think pretty important for me to increase the speed and then jump on the trails. So yeah, that was kind of a given thing already. So I found the group and then I found my coach. Yeah.
Yeah. And if people are interested and want to follow along your journey, what is the best platform for them to find you on?
Well, I'd say it's Instagram. Like, I'm always so negative about social media, but actually it could also be a positive thing. I'm trying to be real on social media, so I think that's maybe the best platform to get to know me in a way. I also have a website, but it's only in German, kind of, so I don't know if that's very helpful for everyone. And there it's kind of like a mix between my writing and my and the athlete. It's kind of a yeah. So that's also a possibility, but yeah, I would say definitely Instagram.
Yeah, it's interesting that you call out that you're quite real on your Instagram, because I feel like that's what I've noticed. Like, I've only been following you for maybe 6 months or something, but I feel like you have an ability to be authentic on your Instagram. It's not just a highlight reel kind of thing. And that was evident in your most recent races where you were really transparent about how you felt.
That makes me really happy that you're saying that, actually, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do, like be authentic and be real and be like, that's what I like when I see profiles where people try to tell the perfect world all the time. It's like, nah, man, that can't be true.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to be real, which means I'm trying to be the grumpy person, which like who I am quite often. Or if a race doesn't go well, a race doesn't go well. Or if a day is kind of shit, it is like that. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to do that too, because it makes sense that people post when things are going well, because you feel motivated and like you feel like you got something cool to share, and it might not be anything malicious or anything in terms of the intent, but it makes sense that, I feel good, I'm going to post on my social media. Whereas like when you don't feel good, it takes a lot of courage and also just like, I don't know, a lot of energy even just to post on your social media.
Actually, the thing is, even if I do know that the social media world is not is not like, it's kind of telling you that like every post kind of is only positive, and there's like, it's so, as you said, it's so easy to tell or to speak about something which was great, but it's so hard, or it's not easy to talk about something which was kind of a negative thing. So that's what still happens to me sometimes when I read posts of professional trail runners or whatever, and they are always kind of like, they are racing there and they are racing there and they are experiencing this and they are like happy about this, and I'm always like, oh, that must be amazing to be like that. But
It comes
yeah,
back to that comparison thing again, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if they have the ability to do that and live such an amazing life, why can't I live such an amazing life?
exactly.
When really you're seeing like 40% or something of what their life is actually like.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm like, that's really something which I have to get better with, like trying to not compare my life and myself to anybody else. And in so many different ways, like training wise, working wise, running wise, whatever, eating wise. Um, yeah, but as we are now able to to take part of others or other lives, at least like 24/7, it's getting more and more difficult to like be happy with what you actually have. And I like, that's something I really want to feel, like being happy with what I have, because it's so much like, I mean, I moved here. Like a teammate just told me some days ago, and he was pretty harsh when he said that, because he was really, really angry with me, because I was like, again in a Kimi mood where I was like, I don't know, I'm meh, I'm not
Yeah.
happy. And
Yeah.
he was like, Kimi, what the fuck? Like, you moved to Chamonix, which you wanted last year. You wanted, like, you are having a boyfriend, you are healthy, you're running, you're doing what you love. Why are you still negative? Why are you not happy? Can you just be happy at least one day? Like, really. And that was maybe a moment for me where I realized, yeah, he's actually true. I kind of wasn't happy for quite a long time, which is not fair again, like, because actually everything is fine. So, yeah. That's
Yeah.
again why I said, like, it's okay.
A
Yeah.
saying that I heard years ago now that stuck with me is, as humans, we're more sensitive to negativity than to positivity.
Yeah.
So there could be nine things going right and one thing not going right, and we just focus on that one thing,
Absolutely.
and like that's exactly what you're getting at. And I feel like it's just human nature, and it makes sense. It's probably what's kept us alive as a species for so long, but now it's not really applicable. And the other thing that you kind of were touching on there that reminded me of another one of my favorite quotes. I feel like lots of quotes are coming to mind in this chat,
Yeah.
but it's compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all that,
That's
like,
quite nice.
yeah, if you're improving in some way on who you were yesterday, then it's all good. Someone else today has gone through a totally different journey to the journey that you've been on, and if you're doing well for all the stuff that you've gone through, that's the main thing, right?
Right. And like, it just reminds me on on a article a good friend of mine sent me the other day after my race on Sunday. And in this article, it kind of said, like, maybe you did not have like a great race, but actually focus on the good things. Like, you were able to run faster, maybe compared to last time. You were able to get your nutrition done in, like, compared to last time, which where it did not feel good or that great, or you were able to take the uphill faster than last time. So actually you did, like, what you achieved is a lot, but it's just not what you expected of yourself. So just be positive about the little steps, and then you get to the point where you want to be, maybe not now, but soon. So just take your time. And I was like, yeah, well, that's so nice and that's so true, but still, as we said already, theory and like real life is always two kind of things. But yeah, I'm really trying to focus on these things, like, take your time, Kimi, it'll be fine.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm personally interested in following your journey and how you kind of discover different things about yourself throughout this time. It's definitely going to be an interesting one, and I really appreciate you coming on and also being so vulnerable and willing to talk about the stuff that you're going through right now. Because like your Instagram, it's not easy to talk about stuff when they're not going right. It's easy to talk about stuff when it's going well.
Yeah, I think like just receiving all the messages on Sunday from so many different people telling me that they really are inspired by my like by the way that I'm showing that we are also like professional athletes are also just humans. I mean,
Yeah.
we are not machines, even if sometimes many athletes try to be like a machine, like constantly working 100%. We are not machines, so that's why I'm trying to be as honest as real as I can. And if people like you, for example, who actually, I don't know, are you do you trail running on because I'm interested how you found my page. So then if
I think,
even
well,
yeah.
because I watched the Golden Trail series, started
Oh
following
yeah.
Simone, and then you specifically, I don't know, maybe it was either from the Golden Trail series or like you might have just come up as recommended or something, got into my algorithm somehow.
But that's like, even like people like you who are not in my sports kind of, so not in my bubble, and I'm like, who are motivated to follow my journey. That's really what motivates me to to keep, like, to stay exactly how I am. Like, yeah, I'm Kimi, I'm a grumpy head, but I'm also like, I know what I have, and I know, like, I'm thankful for what I have. So, and I'm still learning, and if I can inspire people with this, I'm more than happy. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think we'll leave it there, eh? Thank you so much, Camille. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.